folks can hear it, then we'll get the party started here.
Cool.
So if you guys are out there, please type in the. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Can you guys hear us clearly? Okay. He's saying there's a screeching sound. I'm not sure where it's coming from. All right. If you guys can put it in the chat box, if you guys can hear us clearly, then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. All right. So we got confirmation that everyone can hear us. Now, if you guys can just hold the questions until the end, and Lior and I will answer the questions towards the end there. Okay. But just excuse me, guys. All right, guys. This is Tai Zen, and excuse me. I just got over a cold, guys. All right, this is Tai Zen, guys. I'm broadcasting from Dallas, Texas right now. And with me, we have a returning special guest, Lior Gantz. Right? Say hello, Lior.
Hey, everyone.
Okay. So you are broadcasting from Israel right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I brought Lior back on, guys, because last time when he was on our channel here, we learned a lot of lessons from him, some of the mistakes that he made while learning to invest in the traditional market before he got into the cryptocurrency market. And then he shared with us some of the lessons that he learned that he wished that he could do all over again. And his video actually got a lot of views. And we got lots of positive feedback from everyone about how Lior invests in the markets, in both the traditional markets and in the cryptocurrency markets. So I invited him back to come back, and it's been a few months now since we last broadcasted together, and just want to get a big picture overview of how he sees the cryptocurrency market right now. You know, so you want to share with our audience how you see the markets are playing out right now, Lior?
Sure. Overall, I think that Bitcoin has established itself as more than a cryptocurrency. Right now, I think that Bitcoin itself is, in terms of its use case, it's becoming more of the go-to store of value for all cryptocurrency investors. So when you it's like the reserve. So when anyone gets into the sector, he absolutely right now puts some of his dollars or euros, whatever fiat he converts, he puts into Bitcoin. And what I think is happening is a lot of it is moving from Bitcoin to other currencies. So as soon as someone puts his money in Bitcoin, it kind of stays there unless he has a very specific use for it to move a large amount of money or something like that. But most people, if we're talking a few 100,000 people that are active on Bitcoin, they're mostly storing their Bitcoins right now. And this is what I think will continue as we go into 2018. You're going to see Bitcoin have a lot of demand and not a lot of supply and float, because most people are just storing what they own in Bitcoin in anticipation that the network effect will grow stronger and that eventually the price will be 5 figures and maybe about even 20,000 in 2018. I wouldn't discount that out at all. For me, the price target is more to the 15, 16,000, but I've been very conservative and wrongly conservative many times, because for 2017, my price target was 5,000, and here we are at 9,000 as we're doing this interview today. I'm glad to be wrong, right?
That's one of the few things that you really want to be wrong about, especially when you're a
Yeah,
cryptocurrency investor. Yeah.
exactly. And what I think is happening right now is a lot of sophistication. Shows like yours and many other shows and articles, bloggers, etc., are putting a lot of sophistication into the already sold crowd, the people that are already understanding that to be involved in cryptocurrencies is better than not to be involved. So they're over the line and they're gonna stay in cryptocurrencies from here on out. There's nothing that's gonna. If you ask me later what I think the greatest risk is to this entire ecosystem, I'll tell you my opinion of it. But if nothing ridiculously bad happens, I think that most people that have chosen to open an exchange account and have their own wallet, they're going to be looking and learning more about this as we go on. There's not a lot of people who started to use the internet and have decided, oh, you know what, I'm not going to use the internet anymore. It's kind of a one-way street where you're when you're in it, that's it. Um, and so you'll see a lot of these use cases more, the more private cryptocurrencies, the faster ones, all the altcoins, they're going to be um, trying to justify the niche that they are best at, and they're going to try and grow only in that niche. And therefore, you're going to see a lot of new opportunities and a lot of new cryptocurrencies that, if they prove they're unhackable and all the good stuff that a cryptocurrency needs in order to have a lot of a good positive network effect, you're going to see a lot of new ones in 2018 that will easily become a $1 billion cryptocurrency. So I see a lot of new ones that will start from scratch and hit that $1 billion mark in a matter of 2-3 months. The money is already there. The institutional money is coming into this sector. Sophisticated money is coming into this sector, and the use cases, the niched use cases, will be the ones for cryptocurrencies. Will be the ones that will flourish, and I think they will continue to flourish more than ICOs because they're more regulated than the ICOs, and they're looked upon as better speculations in terms of what government can do to affect them in a negative way. So honestly, everything looks amazing right now, and what's even more beautiful is how accepted is the blockchain tech itself, the underlying platform. It's just amazing how many companies, how many industries are looking into it. Just a a personal story before you continue. I was invited by a group of blockchain philanthropists to go to Africa not just a few days ago. And what they want to do there is they want to see how they can help to unlock what I call after they got off the call with me. I thought of a nice term to put on this, and it's called the resurrection of capital. There's so much dead capital in Africa, um, and what I mean by that is uh, there are tens of millions of acres of land, good, beachfront land, great land that has difficulties putting a title and ownership on it. Now, when you don't put a title and ownership on land, you can't borrow against it. You can't leverage it. You can't do nobody wants to buy it. The price is insanely cheap. When you can put these things on the blockchain, you're going to unlock another continent, this lost continent that is 3-4 thousand years back. You're going to put it into reality, and with $5 smartphones, the potential is just amazing. It's exciting, man.
Yeah, we just talked to, excuse me, I'll be releasing a couple of video interviews with some guys from that we spoke with, that we met at the Texas Bitcoin conference here recently. And they were talking about how the Bitcoins at that time, they were around $6,000, I think it was. And they said that when they buy the Bitcoins outside of Mozambique, right? And I mean, outside of Zimbabwe, um, they, um, they would turn around and sell for like $8,000-9,000 in Africa. And they said the biggest challenge is the capital controls that they have in Africa, and and how it's slowing down. And if they had no capital controls, that the Bitcoin would be able to penetrate the African market even more so than it is right now. You know.
Well, in a bigger picture outlook, the fact that a country, the in the situation that Zimbabwe has reached, and other countries in Africa that are not doing much better, that they've decided not to ask the United States for help, not to ask governments for help, or the IMF or the UN, and go and do a deal, strike a deal with Dash, for example. This is a huge vote of confidence and a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
legitimacy.
Okay, can you talk about that? Because our team went to was invited by the Dash conference to come and review their conference in London. I think a couple of months ago, and it was. We believe that the governance is a huge issue. Governance is the decision-making process, the final decision-making process. And we believe that projects such as Bitcoin are struggling to gain mainstream adoption simply because they don't have a final decision-making process, which is known as a governance. And so at the beginning of this year, that was like one of our biggest investment thesis on our channel. So we invest into projects such as Dash and Decred and other projects that had a governance process already built in from the very beginning. And so they invited us to come to London and review their conference. And out of all the projects that we have researched and looked at, I would have to say that out of all the projects on the market right now, the crypto projects, our team came to the conclusion that the Dash team was the most professional and the most organized and had the strongest marketing, and it shows because I mean the price of their tokens is up past 600 now as we're speaking. So what's your thoughts and your evaluation of what Dash is doing in Africa?
Well, first of all, I was lucky because I met Amanda Johnson very early and heard about Dash very early. I had my time to do my due diligence and suggested it at the Wealth Research Group free financial newsletter at $16. So people are sitting on pretty fantastic gains. And I think what you're talking about with Dash and Bitcoin and all the other proven cryptocurrencies are showing a lot of they're showing the basic human needs and instincts behind them. So Bitcoin is completely decentralized with terms to governance, and Dash, what they've done is they created this sort of governance that is also free market because no one can take control of it, and they decide based on results who should lead them or who should be a more effective decision maker. And if I'm currently reading Ray Dalio's book, very recommended. It's called Principles, and it's just Ray Dalio, correct?
Yes, yes. Just in case the audiences know, he's considered like one of the top traders and investors in the world. He runs huge hedge fund, and he's very, very, very well known in the trading, investing, and Wall Street arena. So he just so people know, he's like the Michael Jordan or the Kobe Bryant and of a hedge fund and about trading and investing.
Sure. So he's the largest hedge fund manager in the world, bar none, and he doesn't accept new clients for like a decade now. And we're talking all the clients are governments or sovereign wealth funds, the largest pension funds in the world. And so, anyways, for 40 years, this guy has revolutionized how hedge funds work. The reason I bring him up is in his book, Principles, he talks about how the company, Bridgewater Associates, that he has built from being the sole employee to now having 1,500 people involved, how it works. And what they do is he doesn't have any decision-making bottom line. So this is not a traditional company. What they do in any matter is they bring into one room what he calls all the believable people. So if they want to decide which cryptocurrencies they're going to invest in, he brings into the room all the people. It could be 30, 40, 50 people in one conference room that are the experts of cryptocurrencies in his company. Then they debate, they talk about what should happen. So it's very decentralized. They talk about what should happen, and who decides who these people are, who the believable people are. All the people in the company, all the 1,500 employees, they rank the people in the company for believability in cryptocurrencies. So it's a very decentralized system. It's very unique. So they put them in the room, and then they decide. And after deliberating and talking about this, they vote who out of these believable people has made the best case point. So what I think is happening with cryptocurrencies is they are um, revolutionizing or making evolutions in how people in a grand mass of people with thousands and thousands of people can make decisions without knowing each other, without seeing each other, without having any personal relationship, and decide a path forward for a community. And we're going to see what's the best way to do it. So Dash is proving that their way certainly works. Bitcoin obviously proven that their way works, but it might work until a point, a certain point, and now the free market will change the way that Bitcoin works. The one thing that I've learned since 2013 when I started investing in cryptocurrencies is that you need to really have an open mind when it comes to them. The amount of change and the amount of adaptability and your own personal you need to be plastic in your character to stick and follow with them and not to make extreme decisions like I didn't like that last comment, I'm just going to sell all of my cryptocurrencies, etc. It's very important to let things play out. There's plenty of time, Ty, and there's plenty of room for error for all of these cryptocurrencies. The fact of the matter is, the bottom line is they are better than fiat currencies. So we have plenty of time to realize what's the best path forward. There's you haven't missed the boat, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So since we last since you were last on since the last time you were on our show, could you share with our audience a little bit about what you've been researching, what you've been studying, or what you've been focusing on besides
Sure.
Ray Dalio's book? What are some of the cryptocurrency projects that you're looking at with a keen eye, or any type of investing projects you're looking at?
Okay, so obviously anything that is now that I'm looking at and I'm not 100% positive on, I don't want to share on an interview because um, people might see it 2 3 weeks from now, what might get a different idea and etc. But I am researching 5 cryptocurrencies right now that I think will have a better year in 2018 than the established ones: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, for example, Monero, Steam, etc. I think that I found 5 that will do much better than those. I will be sharing and publishing all of this at the wealthresearchgroup.com free financial newsletter, which is where all of our top-notch, highest priority research is being published, where certainly your listeners can subscribe to. I'm also looking into fully traded side of things and looking at stocks that are purely involved in blockchain itself, not cryptocurrencies, but blockchain. This could be anything from mining the cryptocurrencies to supplying the equipment to the exchanges that want to go public. There are many opportunities, Ty, and obviously with a company you're getting a different, or with a business when you get involved with the business, it's different than getting involved with the cryptocurrencies. The amount of money that you can invest instantly, like on your first day, is bigger most of the time, and it's a different beast. It's a different vehicle. You're owning a piece of a business that is growing due to organic growth. So I'm looking at 5 companies in that sector as well. Obviously, and I talked about last time that Hive has been a huge success. Hive blockchain tech, trading on the Canadian Stock Exchange, in the U.S., and it's up 400% in a matter of 2 months. It was up 900% overall. Right now, it's the most shorted stock in Canada, so it's feeling a lot of pressure, and I think there's going to be a lot of upside for it. I personally bought some. We're doing this interview on Sunday the 26th, and I bought on the 24th on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I bought a large position because it's trading right below the last financing price. So it has a lot of support right now. If you want to access the research that I did on the company, you can just go to wealthresearchgroup.com/must MUST to check it out. But the bottom line is this company is is the purest blockchain deal in the world right now. But yeah, man, it's exciting. ICOs, I stay clear for the moment. So I'm strictly looking at 5 cryptocurrencies that I think are going to have insane years going forward.
What's your what's your thoughts on why you avoid ICOs altogether right now? I know that you said that you'd be plastic and adaptable and you could change that in the future, but right now, what do you see that is keeping you out of the ICO market right now?
Well, Ty, 2 things. One is I run a newsletter, and I need to be very, very careful with the information that I provide on a public platform. And so the amount of research we do before we suggest anything is we put a few hundred hours into anything. It can go on for 3-4 months, and we get to know personally the people involved. And so Bitcoin was the only thing I ever suggested at $400 that I didn't know the owners, right? But nobody does. So um, the 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 amount of research is amazing. And with ICOs, there's so many risks involved, and I haven't um, really zoned in on on who are the entrepreneurs that can be trusted in that space. Given having said that, Ty, if I see legitimate traditional investors and entrepreneurs, which I either know personally or have the ability to vet, and see that they have chosen to, instead of go the traditional route and IPO their company, go with an ICO model, that is something that might make me change and adapt to this. So if you understand what I mean, if Ty Zen was looking into doing an ICO deal, I might be prone to get involved. So it's just a matter of that. I would love to see more regulation, and to clear this jungle that's called ICOs, to where I know that even if I make gains, the government won't come in and steal those gains, tax those gains, confiscate it, go after the people involved. There's a lot of problems. So the more legitimate people get involved, the more the entire ICO space will be relevant. So look, it's going to happen, but it's just a matter of time. So right now I'm not getting involved, but obviously in the future it's probably going to look very rosy and a lot of petals.
So to add to that, Lior, in the past, like in 2013, 14, 2015, 2016, our team invested in pretty much all the major ICOs that came out.
Sure.
And in 2017, we had to change our investing strategy. Excuse me. Okay. And we had to go more of a boots on the ground investing approach, where we go and research and study and talk to the actual people that are involved in the project. And we no longer look at just a white paper only. Like, you got to have some alpha or some beta working software,
okay,
some prototype, so we can see what you're doing. And then, like the one that I had pointed out to you offline a few weeks ago about for example, like the props project. That right there falls in line with what like you were just discussing, and then what we believe also is that there's people behind it. They have monthly revenues coming in. They've been in an existing business for over 6-7 years. They have almost 50 employees there. I've been there to their office multiple times. I've seen them. I've talked to their CTO. I've talked to their devs. I've talked to their social media managers. Where there's real people, and one of the things that we're looking more towards is we're looking more of a venture, like a VC approach. Like we look at each project now, is that a well-run business? If that was a business, would that have a chance of succeeding? And that's what we look at now. And if we are not able to do that, then we don't do that. Like for example, like there's another project that is similar to Golem. It's called Gladius, out of the Washington D.C. area, and they're a bunch of young computer science students that are dropping out of college to focus on building a decentralized CD content distribution network to help websites load up faster because they had some personal problems with that when they were trying to build a website. So one of their roommates ran across the blockchain technology, and now they want to incorporate that in and build a solution to a problem that they were experiencing themselves. And so, we asked them if we can come and interview them for that in Washington, D.C. Area, and they're like, yeah. So those are the projects that we are looking at that are real people that we can go to that instead of just risking it on a white paper, we look at projects like that where there's young, hungry guys that are willing to leave college to focus on building what they believe is the next, Akamai or the next Amazon AWS. So we have the same beliefs as you do, looking at real people that are behind the projects.
Well, let's just demystify what an ICO is. An ICO is just a way to raise money for a business. Okay, so 95% of businesses fail in the first year, and therefore 95% of ICOs, it's safe to say that they will fail the first year. Therefore, if you want to find that 1 in 20 that will work, you need to find people that are worthy of your money. It's important to understand that in the first 3 years of business, most of the risk to the business are external and not internal, and therefore other circumstances might just make your business vanish. If you start an airline and there's a huge recession, it doesn't matter how good your airline is. People don't fly. It's an external risk. And if you happen to open your airline at the wrong time, you're done. And after 3 years, you're getting into more internal problems. So if you don't know how to grow it, or you're a lousy people's person, you're gonna have problem inspiring people, motivating people. So that's internal problems. But since there are so many external problems, you need to find people that are unique, that have so much conviction and commitment to what they're doing that they're willing to sleep in the office in the first year to make it happen. And so, yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned about the commitment, about how they are willing to sleep in their office. One of the things that I looked at when I was researching the Gladius project was that when I would text them or contact them at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right, they would be there still working on it, and that's what I want to see. Like I want to reach out to these guys in the middle of the night and see they're still working on it, and the fact that they are willing to leave college and drop out of college and work at 3 o'clock in the morning on their project that they believe in. Those are the hungry guys that I want to go after. Reminds me of like they're all a bunch of 19, 20-year-old computer science students. Reminds me of something like Vitalik when we interviewed him back in 2014 when he was only 19 years old. And this guy was bouncing around at every conference explaining it. Matter of fact, they are going to be in Dubai. So if you happen to be in Dubai at the Dubai blockchain conference or anything soon, you can meet those guys there.
I can't even stamp my passport in Dubai.
Huh?
I can't even stamp an Israeli passport in Dubai.
Hey, speaking of Israel, right? Israel is becoming a huge hub for ICOs and cryptocurrency and blockchain based projects. Can you talk a little bit about why that is? I mean, why is a lot of it gravitating there?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question to ask of me because I've lived in Israel for 33 years out of the 33 years that I am existing. So, look, Israel, the country of Israel was formed in 1948, and for the first 19 years of its existence, survival mode up until the Six Day War, and that really changed the mode from survival into it might work, it might stay. But the war in 1973 survival mode, and but they overcame. It's called the Yom Kippur War. And then 1970, the late 1970s, signed a peace treaty with Egypt, and that kind of changed the country around. And then what happened is foreign money started to think that that it is safe to invest in Israel, which wasn't the case until the early 90s. And so in the early 90s, the country revolutionized um, because we have because there's an IDF, a military, and lots of intelligence and you know, tech involvement. Many people that graduate from the IDF, it it's mandatory, so you have to go from 18 to 21. So think of it as there's about 1 million people that are 18 to 21 at every given time that do a lot of intelligence work and a lot of tech work. So when you're 21, you have a lot of ideas, right? Because you've actually worked at doing serious stuff for 3 years, and a lot of companies raised money in the 90s. This was the tech boom, and that because it changed the way that Israel succeeded on the world plane. A lot of parents tell their children, go and study whatever it is that has to do with science or tech. So there's a lot of tech here, and a lot of sciences and biotech. It's also a cannabis hub, for example, because there's a lot of R&D, and so it's not surprising that there's a lot of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and ICOs that are forming here. It's a lot of entrepreneurship and a lot of tech that Israel is prone upon. I also think it helps to think of it as both the curse and the blessing of Israel. So surrounding Israel, there's oil in every other sand dune. Just Israel doesn't have any oil. So we didn't have any oil to depend upon. We had to do other stuff to add value to the world, and I think it's a very tech rich country. There's 3 Silicon Valleys here, and look, Intel has a big headquarters. Microsoft has one. Qualcomm, Oracle, all the big ones have huge headquarters here. Apple built a massive one just 2 years ago, a real massive one. So look, it's not surprising, and I think it will continue to do so. But it's also important to say that there's like 6 million Jews in Israel, and like 3 million, about 2.5 million Arabs, and they don't get along too well. So there are risks with investing in Israeli companies.
Yeah, the reason why I ask you that is that we get contacted by over half a dozen ICOs every day.
Okay.
And Israel came onto my radar because I would get a very, very noticeable amount of ICOs that contact me from Israel, or people or PR firms or businesses that represent an ICO contacting me. And I mentioned that to our company's attorney, and he's and he's an international attorney. He's been all over the world doing doing law work, And he said that Israel is actually one of the tech hubs of the world. So don't be surprised if all these blockchain companies are reaching out to you, because I've always, obviously, Silicon Valley, the San Francisco, San Jose area in the western part of the United States has always been a huge hub for tech. That's where all the multi-gazillion-dollar tech companies like Google, like Facebook, like Amazon, like PayPal, and all those were born, right, or were created. And then, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai. But then lately, in 2017, I mean, we've had a huge influx of folks calling in from contacting us from Israel. So that's why it's interesting to hear that you said about the 3 years of mandatory military service exposes a lot of the Israelis into tech,
Yeah.
So We're coming to the end of the time here, right? So you want to share any last thoughts or anything that if our viewers want to follow you and look at some of the reports that you're creating,
Sure.
could you share any last thoughts? And while you're doing that, I'm going to invite the audience, if you guys have any questions for Lior regarding, traditional or cryptocurrency investing, go ahead and put it in the chat box. And if you can, mention the city that you guys are watching us from. And then as I see it come in, I'll get Lior to answer them. So any last thoughts?
Well, basically, my most important thing right now to tell your listeners is, well, first of all, regarding the downloads, if anyone wants to check out the wide array of PDF downloads that we have, just go to wealthresearchgroup.com/special-reports, or go to the website and click on the top menu on the special reports tab. And when you download any of them, the email that gets to you has all the downloads in them. So you don't have to download all of them. Just download one and you'll get everyone. And when it comes to investing, Ty, I think going forward, the problem for investors going forward is not information anymore. The amount of information available to investors is pretty much the same all over. The playing field is leveled. What's going to be most important now for people going forward is to control their emotions once they hear about a deal or decide to act on a deal, and also how they deal with or how they manage a position once they've already invested and it's not going their way in the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, etc. It's very important to understand that, and I think that has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. It has more to do with how to prepare for investments, and I think people would be wise to read a book or two about this and start trading in baby steps so they can ease their way into the big money. Okay, so that's it for me. If you have any questions from the audience, I'm more than happy to answer them. If not, I'll prepare for me interviewing you. You're on mute.
So sorry about that. Okay, I did not have any questions coming in. One of the guys wanted to know what year Israel knew about Bitcoin. I think that's probably the same year that it came out in 2009.
Hold on, Satoshi.
I have to ask, right? I have to ask.
AKA Mossad.
You're not Satoshi, are you? Okay.
If anyone fits the description, Ty, it's got to be you out of the two of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for coming on our channel today.
No problem at all.
I always learn new stuff with you on our channel. Every time we have you on our show. If you guys want to learn more about Lior Gantz, his method of investing, his method of research, what he's researching about, go to www.wealthresearchgroup.com/special-reports, and then go there and download one of his reports, get on his newsletter, and he'll share with you some of the research. I like the fact that he doesn't like to talk about the research until he completes it and he understands it, so that he doesn't disseminate speculative information, but actually information that he has solidly researched. So go there, check it out, get on his newsletter, and learn from somebody that's actually in the trenches doing this stuff full time. So thanks for coming on our show, Lior, and
thanks for having me.
And look forward to having you again back in the future. If you have anything new come up, let us know so we can bring you back on so you can share with our audience, okay? So thanks for watching this, guys. If you guys like these types of videos where we share with you, the experience and lessons from real investors making a full-time living, investing full-time, go to our website at www.cryptocurrency.market/newsletter and sign up for our newsletter as well. And we'll be sending out videos like this to you once you're a newsletter subscriber. Thanks for coming on, Lior, and this will conclude the broadcast.